AskReddit, what is the most disrespectful thing that someone has done in your home? My wife's cousin was staying at our house because he is going through marital problems. One night I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard some change rattling. He walks down the hall with my 5-year-old's piggy bank. He was taking money from my effing daughter's piggy bank to buy beer and smokes. And that's when you understood where the marital problems came from. This reminds me of when I was probably 6 and our housemate got her kid to steal the check I got for my birthday from my grandparents. It was probably like $40, but a lot of money to me as a child, and we didn't have a lot of money, so a lot of money to my mom too. My mom asked the lady about it and she completely denied it. Being 6, I went into their room and found it in her purse. My $40 time. Wow. I'm so happy you got your money back. One night the girls who lived in the apartment across the hall brought a friend with them to hang with us. As soon as she walked in she screamed, "This will be hilarious. College guys always get the hitty, hand-me-down dishes from their parents." She walked into the kitchen and began pulling out pans and dishes and howling about how old and ratty they were. Our friends were mortified. When they tried to talk to her she talked louder. After 30 seconds of this lunacy, my roommate and I told her to leave. She threw a giant fit and called us a-holes. "You can pry my hitty, hand me down pots and pans from my cold dead hands. I grew up with those." When I was 11 I went to a big dinner like this and loudly proclaimed that I wasn't hungry. I had just eaten a huge lunch. Suddenly noticed in the deathly silence that my mother looked mortified and the British gentleman sitting next to me casually remarks, "That was very rude." I felt pretty awful. It had never occurred to me before that such a thing was rude, but I figured it out pretty quick. It still haunts me. Whatever, F that, you were 11. I remember once at about the same age, I wrote either in a card or said out loud to a newly married couple who were family friends, "Don't get divorced." Because my own parents had just a year prior and it completely upended my life, so it was most of what I was thinking about every day. I was just a dumb kid, so I didn't realize how messed up something like that is on someone's wedding day. Intruded in a homemade family dinner uninvited and then insulted my cooking. Didn't get a thank you either. Don't get me wrong, a lot of these comments describe vandalism and theft and drunken/drug fueled aholery, but I can never ever stand for someone eating another's home cooked food and being disrespectful. It's just not okay. One of my little brother's friends would always ask for something else to be made. Even if it was a steak just for him, he'd want the leftover pizza or some french fries. Despite him being a relatively normal kid, we all hated him for spurning our food. She invited a bunch of sleazy guys over, despite me asking her not to. She let them in while I was in the shower, so I did not realize they were in my house. She then took one into my housemate's bedroom and locked the door. Super disrespectful to my housemate who had so kindly offered that she could stay in her room as she was going to be at her boyfriend's for the weekend. When I got out of the shower one of the guys was in my bed and I was like, "Dude, get the F out of my bedroom." And he refused and said my friend said he could stay there. I was very not okay with that. I physically had to push him out of my house. The next day, when she sobered up, I kicked her out of my house and did not speak to her for 3 years. In what universe could someone think my friend said I could be here trumps "This is my bedroom. Get out." This is a really messed up story. I did offer for her to stay as a guest for a few weeks as she slowly started taking over and going mad. While I was out things would get unplugged, stuff would be moved, and I realized later, stolen, and on one day she had a storage company deliver more boxes of stuff than I own. I believe this was intentionally done right before I snapped, knowing that it would make her insane vision more believable. Thankfully I kept calm when dealing with the police, as I can easily prove I own the place, and one gave me great advice: change the locks, refuse her entry and record everything as you pack her stuff, and be prepared for civil recourse. They mediated her entry to collect her crap, and when she couldn't keep herself composed, a lot of verbal abuse towards me, they started to see this person unravel. Like she claimed I stole a wedding dress and was determined to find it in my place, and the police just told her to sue me for it, but they aren't there to help her scavenge my place. Truly crazy. My husband's friend and her boyfriend arrived from overseas. We hadn't met him previously. On day 1 the boyfriend googled buy weed, city name, got scammed into sending a lot of cash to Nigeria via Western Union to pay for it, then gave them our address for delivery. No weed ever turned up, but the police did. On day 2 he wanked in the shower and his load got caught by the hair catcher in the drain, which I discovered when I cleaned the shower. Nearly vomited. On day 3 the pair of them had a massive raging argument at our dinner table while the 4 of us were sitting down to eat. They were yelling insults at each other and trying to get us to join in and take a side. It went on like this for about a week until my husband told them to leave. They tried to come back a few days later because they'd discovered that our country is expensive and they'd prefer free accommodation with us. We declined. When I was in like 2nd grade, I invited this girl over and we made popcorn as a snack, and not even 5 minutes later, this twat decided it's a good idea to run all over my house throwing it everywhere. This goes on another 5 minutes while I chase her down. But the damage is done. The popcorn is in between couch cushions, under the fridge, under my bed, in my laundry basket, all over the damn floor. My mom ends up sitting us down and proceeds to lay it out on her, telling her that what she did was disrespectful and to help clean up. She pouted and said no, saying since it wasn't her house she didn't have to clean shit. She continued to pout as my mom called her mom and pretty much told her to leave and to not expect to be invited back anytime soon. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but apparently she got banned from the mall for trashing a Lush store with her friend, throwing food, dumping out products, and smashing bath bombs, so I guess she hasn't changed much. Back in college my roommates and I hosted a birthday party for a mutual friend at our apartment. Earlier that day we gifted her a pet goldfish because she had been talking about getting a fish. Fast forward to later in the night. Our male friend, let's call him Mike, decided he needed to find a way to impress our other friend, who I'll call Dollar. Mike tries every lame joke and pick up line on Dollar and fails time and time again. Then he sees the goldfish in his tank and scoops him up in his hand. He says, "Check this out, Dollar." He then plops the fish into his mouth and swallows it alive. My roommate and I immediately rush over and start trying to make Mike puke the fish back up. Dollar quickly makes for the door and leaves the party. Sadly that fish met its doom in Mike's stomach that night. He never apologized, although he did complain about severe stomach issues for several days afterwards. TLDR, bought a fish for a friend and another friend swallowed it alive at a party to impress/flirt with someone. My sister's old boyfriend from high school watched bestiality porn on our family computer and ended up making it unusable because of the amount of viruses it gave the computer. Lots of pictures and videos went missing, and my dad's childhood friend's obituary too. Edit. My dad did end up getting his friend's obituary back, but the rest of our pictures and videos were lost. This all happened about 10 years ago, and back then my parents, who aren't the most tech savvy, didn't realize you could backup files. My siblings and I showed them after that incident, haha. Years ago, my then boyfriend, now ex, came over to my house, unexpected the day of my mom's birthday. My siblings and I were busy decorating. He made himself comfortable on the couch and played on the box. He was out of the way, so I ignored him. Just before she gets home I make him turn off the console. Mom gets home and we do the whole surprise. But ex immediately, like, my mom hadn't even gotten past the entryway, grabbed the controller, turned the box on, slapped my ass, and told me to get him a drink as he sat back down on the couch. I snatched the controller out of his hands and told him to go home. And then you dumped him. I posted a shorthand version of this story, but here goes. My ex-husband and I had a couple that we were friends with. I grew up in the same neighborhood with the husband and worked at a bar with the wife. They had met and gotten married in Vegas 3 weeks later, so naturally there was a lot of buzz about their relationship and her intentions. The guy was super sweet and she was, well, skanky. We had them over for dinner and karaoke, and the night was fun. She kept taking selfies on our disposable camera with my husband and wanting to sing duets with him, but whatever. Her husband and I finally tapped out around 2 AM and they stayed up. I woke up the next morning and there was tequila rose all over my barroom. clothes everywhere, half-butted cigarettes, lip prints on my big mirror. She had effed my husband while her husband and I were sleeping. The end.